and this is a famous
gaining
book. Many of
ground
you all
among
probably
Negroes in
already
this
know it.
country and is rapidly
It's called The Miseducation of the Negro. So basically, he's saying the rich, the quote unquote educated elite are telling these poor people, these poor black people, capitalism is bad for you. And they like, nah, it's actually working out pretty good for us, actually. He said, no, it's bad for you because they've been brainwashed with socialism and Marxism.
sweeping them
Keep
into the
listening.
ranks of what are commonly known as communists. The uneducated Negro businessman, however, is actually at work doing the very thing which the miseducated Negro has been taught to believe cannot be done. If the highly educated Negro would forget most of his untried theories taught him in school, if he could see through the propaganda which has been instilled in his mind under the pretext of education. So what the father of black history is saying is that the belief that you can't succeed in America because of the white power structure and that you need to overthrow capitalism in order to succeed is propaganda disguised as education. Who else did I say wanted to reach us with propaganda disguised as education? In order that the Negro may be reached with education and propaganda, and that he may be organized for activity, the following methods are recommended. Who do you think wanted to do this? All the way back in 1922, Soviet communists. People that look like this, actually. As you can see, it was the communists that wanted to do this the entire time.
So what he's pointing out is that you have outside influences who are now exacerbating the racial divide in America. Basically, you have agents from our former enemies and competitors, some would say current enemies, who say, hey, you know what? We can create destabilization in the United States by infuriating Americans. We can create dissension, and what's bad for them is good for us. And so it's not just black people who are trying to sell other educated black people who are trying to sell other black people on this socialism idea, but you have foreign outside agitators who are coming in saying, yeah, we'll come work and come study at our school in Moscow, and they help them get the language. And this is your problem. You need to inherit, so you need to be communist. So I'm just saying, this is how we got here. And I know y'all like, well, what are you talking about? Just hang in there for a minute. Just keep listening. It's bigger than us.
It was their goal to reach us with education and propaganda so that we can be used for their purpose. The question is, did it work?
All right. So let's look at another. Are y'all still with me? Let me know if you're still with me. I need you to know. I know this is some straight out of left field type stuff, but it is what it is. Let's keep listening.
Black people hate black conservatives. And let me explain to you guys what I mean. You guys, for some reason, we live in a generation of black people who are oddly militarized and aggressive towards any race or people that disagree with their notion of them being so racially oppressed. And the people that
All right, racially oppressed. You hear this language? This is the language that black people have been brainwashed to believe, oppressed. All right. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. My grandmother was born in 1915, and she told me some stories about what oppression was really like. In 2026, as I ride around in my German engineered vehicle, right, I don't feel the oppression that she did. But yet and still, we as black people, we are now one of the richest groups of African people of African descent on this planet, and we're still talking about oppressed. And I'm not going to pee on your coke. Of course, we're oppressed. I get it. I get it. I don't want to make you mad at me because y'all been mad at me for about 2 weeks. But the bottom line is, if we took a group of black people from 1915 and brought them and dropped them off in 2026, they would call this heaven. So the question is, why are we still utilizing that? Why is that language why has that become part of the culture? I'm just asking questions. Okay. I'm just asking questions. That's all I do is ask questions. But I'm gonna let these young people, because these young people are on it. I never heard this stuff in rap songs in the 1980s. We was talking about shooting and smoking weed back then, but these young people are on it. I want you to listen to these young people.
that black people hate the most are black conservatives or other black people who refuse to give in to the notion that we are racially oppressed in today's modern era. And so the next question becomes, why do black people get so upset when you disagree with them about the current states of how the nation is perceiving African Americans? And now it just boils down to three things. It boils down to tribalism, ignorance, and years of conditioning from socialists, Marxists, and black activists to make black people think that they are victims. And then on more of the black activist thing, you guys, like we were taught in high school that Martin.
See, the thing is, they have to keep teaching those notions, or otherwise they become irrelevant. You know what it's like? It's like being a blacksmith in 20. No, it's like being a horse and buggy driver once the Model T Ford came out. You pretty much got obsolete. So now you have to start preaching that, oh no, that those cars are they're unreliable. They're gonna break down. Get you a horse, okay? And so that's what's going on. They have to continue making their PhDs and the information they learned 40 or 50 years ago relevant and writing books. So or otherwise it messes with their. So they kind of people, things in motion kind of want to stay in motion, inertia. Let's keep listening to this young brother.
Luther King, Rosa Parks, all these other Al Sharpton, all these other guys, these people were the pinnacle of what black people are today. Come to find out, Martin Luther King is one of the main reasons why welfare and abortions are such a huge problem within the black community today. Come to find out that the whole Rosa Parks debacle was more about getting a lawsuit rather it was fighting for African American rights to sit in public transit. And pretty much Al Sharpton was the P. Diddy of fucking civil rights activists. And here's the thing, right? The good part of the 40s, 50s, and all the way up to now, these same activists have been brainwashing black people to think that they are either less than, owed to, or the only reason why they don't have a good footing in today's society is because of white people. And now,
all right, again, remember when they begin to pick up these socialist notions, remember the environment that we were living in the 1920s. These leaders from the 1920s were trying to come up with answers. They taught the next generation taught that generation, the next generation taught that generation. So now we're 5 generations in. Oh, the answer is we need to bring socialism and communism. That's where we are. I want you guys to understand that. Okay. And so this is it's a straight line back to W.B. Du Bois and all those communists, straight to where we are right now in 2026 in your African studies class. All right. Now we're going to move on to the next one because there's a lot of people who are saying the same thing, and I like it. I like the fact that you got all these folk saying these things. I think it's pretty cool. Let's look at some more. Okay.
Liberals may be diverse ideologically, but they are each aspiring towards the same form of government, and that makes them their own nation already. Understand what I'm saying? These groups are diverse ideologically, but they share a national unity project because they can agree that they want to live in something called a borderless democratic republic that will not have an electoral college. And they can agree that they can call that republic a borderless democratic republic or a borderless democracy. They also agree on what constitutional rights should be amended. And that means they have consensus on what meta ideology they could place their constitution on. I'm here to tell you something. If you're an American and you're still spinning in a corner trying to diagnose the country or explain the world around you, Americans are polarized not because we're racially and culturally incompatible. That's a surface answer. The crux of our problem stems from the fact that we're actually aspiring towards 2 different forms of government. If you're trying to conserve a federalist constitutional republic like myself, you're not compatible to live in a borderless democratic republic that won't have an electoral college. That doesn't make you racist. That doesn't make you a bad person. This comes down to nature. This comes down to your human constitution. So we should all accept right now and today that Democrats or global citizens have a right to want to live in a democracy that won't have borders, and we have the right to resist. We have the right to actually say, hold up, these territories that are aspiring towards that form of government should actually exist outside of the union they're in with.
Now she's doing a lot of babbling. She made her initial point, but I think it's important. Some of you might not know exactly what communism is. So I'm gonna let this video play. You take a listen to this, and then we'll get back to I got one or two more videos I want you to check out.
And Karl Marx watched factories in 1840s England and saw the same thing everywhere. Owners getting rich, workers getting sick. He wrote a book about it, said the entire system was designed to keep it that way. That capitalism would always make the rich richer and the poor poorer until workers had nothing left to lose. Then they'd revolt, take the factories, run them collectively, no owners, no bosses, no classes. Eventually the government...
Somebody type Robin Hood, steal from the rich and give to the poor. That's just that's what communism is. Okay?
Itself would become unnecessary and disappear. Everyone contributes what they can. Everyone takes what they need. That was the theory. The practice looked completely different. Russia tried it in 1917. Within years, it was a one-party dictatorship. Stalin killed millions of his own people to maintain control. China tried it.
Shout out to KB Film Room.
Mao's policies caused the largest famine in human history, 45 million dead. Cuba tried it. Castro imprisoned political opponents for decades.
So basically, they're just explaining to you how communism always fails, okay? But the other thing, and the most important thing we need to understand is that, in my opinion, you have a lot of outside agitators who come to the United States from these countries that are not America's friends, and they pretend like they're on the side of black people, and they're really